humanitarian organizations, international actors, and citizens across the nation. Step in now, before it's too late. For more information on how you can help, contact Professor Usman A. Tar, the Honorable Commissioner for Information and Internal Security, Borno State, on 0809-233-3955. Every second counts.
This is powered by Atlantic Television Network.
Welcome back. Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television Network, and I have Mike with me.
Good morning, and good morning to our viewers out there.
Over 2,000 athletes, we understand, Mike, in Kaduna to participate in the Armed Forces game, and this promises to be thrilling. The Armed Forces game for this year, we are told, will be the trial for the forthcoming African Military Games, and so this promises to be really, really very intense. If you want to go to the Armed Forces game, then you should qualify from here.
Yeah, I think this is where the journey begins for some of the military men who take delight in one sporting activity or the other. You know, so for me, I think it's our preparation ahead of this very one. What I tell you, if there's anything to go by from the spokesman of the military headquarters, we understand that some of the key players have been preparing seriously for this very one, and they can't wait, to get started as it is. So for me, I trust that Nigerian military always ever present in this very one to do the nation proud. Let's hope that it's going to be a repeat of what we saw in the last edition. They actually went out there in last edition. They did pretty well as well. So for me, I think it's the right way to prepare. If they truly want to continue the dominance, in Africa, they need to also prepare very well for this very one.
The Armed Forces game, they are due to get underway in just about 48 hours from now. We understand they will take part in basketball, volleyball, athletics, and this event promises to showcase the best of Nigerian military as they go across to Africa as well. Away from that, we've seen athletics, the 11th edition of the Federation of African University Sports game has officially commenced in Lagos. It features nearly 2,000 athletes as well. I think this is about 1,500 from 43 African countries. Quite a number.
Yeah, quite a number. 1,500 athletes said to take part in this very one from 43 African countries. I think Lagos State is going to be the big heaps of activity in the next few days as it is right now. And I tell you, LASO and the Lagos State universities as well. This is the first edition where we are having two universities coming together to put up such a massive one. And it dated back 20 years ago where we actually hosted it last, But then I think this time around, they are built to even make it more perfect compared to the last time we had the opportunity.
And the respective countries are continental, and even the Olympics.
I think for me, this should be the major focus for most of the African countries taking part in this year's edition. It's not about coming to win, finishing within the podium. It's about the talents that will be unearthed from this competition. Just like you said a few minutes ago, in time past, we've had some notable names in the world of sport that also sprang courtesy of this this kind of competition out there. So for me, I'm hoping that this time around is not going to be a different story. Hoping that maybe in 2-3 years to come, we are going to see most of the names that take part in this year's edition to also be there to do their nation proud. So for me, this should be the main essence of the event, to discover talent and to also unify African universities out there, because sport brings people together. You create that harmony, you create that relationship between
development. The Federal Ministry of Sports, who represented the sports minister during the occasion, is asking for some kind of the podium winners to take their sports, or do I say their games, to the next level. This is the youth games under 15, and they still have maybe another 10-20 years or so to compete. Do we see these athletes taking it to the next level?
For me, I think it's a big question that we need to ask ourselves. Do we hope on this athlete to continue on this fine form we've seen them for this year's edition. It still remains a question to be answered in the near future for me. But then I think that the real reason for this competition is to develop young lads who have the potentials in different sports in Qatar to make themselves proud and also make the state and the country at large proud. So if you take a look at the first edition down to this 7th edition, down to even this 8th edition of this very year, have we been able to discover some of this talent? Is there any name at all that we can boldly say, yeah, these are the product of the National Youth Games? And for me, I can't see any. So it still remains a far cry. Let's hope that this year's edition is going to produce some of the future talent that we are hoping, because the reason or the main vocal point of this competition is from 15 years downward. If you can be able to build your talent from this and gather the ones that have done pretty well, the likes of the 8-year-old girl that hails from Kogi State, Omni, who did very well in the chess event. We also have Kwaranga as well, did pretty well in the gymnastic event, winning 3 gold medals. We also have Sunday in the 200-meter relay as well, winning 3 gold medals as well. These are some of the key names that performed very, very well in this year's National Youth Game. But then, in 10 years, 15 years to come, can we still hear these names that did their various state very proud in this year's National Youth Game? So I think it boils down to the sport ministry as addition down to the 8th edition. Like I've said, I can't actually, pick a name that we've been able to discover from this year's, from the Hitatu National Sport Festival.
The onus is on the officials of the scouting team of the Federal Ministry of Sports for the different federations as well to spot these talents that have been revealed during the Youth Games and condition them for stardom. Let's go to cricket now. And Nigeria's women under 19 team, that's the junior female Yellow Greens, began their 2025 International Cricket Council Women's T20 World Cup qualifiers with a flying start. They beat Tanzania by 4 wickets only yesterday in Kigali, Rwanda. This is the way to go. Lena Ude was the biggest performer for Nigeria, grabbing 5 wickets to power Nigeria to a confidence-boosting win in their very first match.
Very impressive start for them. I think they needed this win at least to also dominate or continue to maintain their first spot in their group out there. And most importantly, the ticket for the World Cup is very, very important. Your first game is as important as your last game. And for me, I think Nigeria, when it has to do with cricket, it looks as though we are beginning to make headway gradually with some of the top countries right here in Africa. But the main focus is to pick one of the tickets for the World Cup, which I think for me is a nice way to start. They have a match today. Let's hope they are going to continue, with the way they've actually started the game.
Nigeria needs to be represented at the Cricket World Cup coming up in Malaysia next year. But first, they have to win Zimbabwe today to pick in that very elusive ticket. They took out their counterparts only yesterday, and today they have a very crucial match against Zimbabwe. I must tell you, a win catapults Nigeria to the World Cup. I wish them the very best of luck later on today. Meanwhile, Nigeria's remarkable entry into the global fencing scene was announced at the weekend because he had a very impressive performance as a 16-year-old Inoko Sibro, who won the country's first ever medal in the Sabre category at the World Today Satellite Cup that took place in Iceland. Fencing, not a very popular sport here in Nigeria, but the world number 67 ranked fencer claimed a silver medal for Nigeria after a hard-fought 9-15 victory against Iceland's Andrei Metsev.
Very impressive display. Just like you say, fencing is not a very popular sport in this part of the climb, but then I think we are making progress as it is. Taking a look at this massive, in fact, this one is a landmark achievement for Nigeria when it has to do with fencing. It's 67 ranked player, a 16 years old, but then we're able to upstage a player that are way ranked above her, players ranked 5th and 1st in the world. I think for me it's a massive one, and we need to give it a thumbs up to they're taking to these ones who have this bright future, who have shown that indeed they have what it takes to compete with their counterparts all over the world and come out of. Then I think there is future for fencing. It boils down to the federation to also continue, to look out for some of these talents that have what it takes, to compete at the highest level. But then I tell you, it was a glorious one for us.
Glorious silver medal for Nigeria in fencing, the very first, I must tell you, and this is a delight to the Fencing Federation of Nigeria. Well, let's quickly go down and we'll look at just one more story or two before we go for the break. The crunch battles for the 8th final tickets of the 2024 sponsored National Women Basketball Tournament actually jumped off yesterday and will continue today at 2 centers. While the Indoor Sports Hall of the MKO Abiola Stadium in Abuja will see the Savannah Conference. We equally know that the Indoor Sports Hall of the Nnamdi Azikiwe Stadium in Enugu is hosting the Atlantic Conference. The Savannah Conference has Customs as a team to beat after winning all games in the first phase that took place in Lafayette earlier this month. Mike, the Savannah Conference has the Air Warriors, Plateau Rocks, Kada Angels, the Titans as well. It looks very interesting, but it has always produced the team that has got into the championship level.
Yeah, I think for me, if you take a look at the groups and the teams out there, you can't actually take away, how they were able to, win all their games. I think for me, they are the team indeed to beat. Then when you talk about the Atlantic Conference, the MFM, First Bank are also there. The team to beat as well. So for me, I think it promises to be an exciting one. It's a good thing that we are beginning to see more organized, female basketball right here in the country. You listen to Engineer Musa Nimrod also speaking in that very one. He made it very clear that they are even poised to even making sure that the league gain more popularity, gain more visibility as it is. So for me, I think it's a but then you can't take away the strength of MFM, who is also the defending champion. First Bank as well, not doing very but so for me, it promises to be a massive encounter as different teams from different conferences is heading for the jugular.
Well, I'm most interested in the Bayelsa Wales encounter. Dolphins, of course, will take on First Bank. Sunshine Angels will lock on with the Delta Queens. Mountain of Fire, you mentioned, have Bayelsa Wales to contend with.
Yeah, for me, I think Mountain of Fire, like I just told you, they have what it takes. They've been up there. Even in the first phase of this group games, they could not. They were not defeated. I mean, they went, about 7 games undefeated before they head to this second phase of this one. So they are still one of the team to beat out there. Talking about MFM, First Bank, these are the 2 strong opponents I'm seeing, to top that group.
Well, let's get to boxing now.
In office for AJ, talking about Anthony Joshua, just like you say, he was pummeled, he was dismantled and discombobulated by Daniel Dubois. Surprisingly, because building up to this match, many people thought, yeah, this is the right time for Anthony Joshua to get back his professional career back on track. Building up to this very one, he has been able to at least win 3 to 4 straight games as he beat to gain back that reckoning. We thought, yeah, this is the time for him to hit that peak. This is the prime time for him to make that statement of intent and bounce back, to contend for 3-time world champion, to join the likes of Lennox Lewis, the likes of Evander Holyfield, the likes of, Mike Tyson. But then, I think, like I say, it was a very, very awful day in office for Anthony Joshua. From the first round, he was actually, pummeled by Daniel Dubois down to the 5th round, where he actually kissed the canvas and was unable to, stand at the count by the center area. I think for me, it was a very disappointing one. And as it is right now, his career, for me, I think is on the line. I don't know if he's going to continue, but then after the game, he went to the press conference. He made it very clear that he's not ready to back down. He still wants to continue, fighting. It was not just a good day in office for Anthony Joshua, as he find it very difficult to cope with the punching power, the fast jabs of Daniel Dubois. Caught him severally. He dropped down about 4 to 5 times, clearly telling you that the quality of Daniel Dubois was way better than that of Anthony Joshua.
Daniel Dubois taking out Nigerian boxer Anthony Joshua. Do you see Joshua, having any chance now against the world heavyweight champion Alexander Usyk?
No, I tell you, I think his chances are very slim as it is right now. Even the much touted match between him and Tyson Fury before they call it quit, I think is under threat as it is right now. Don't also forget that we have the likes of some of the big names in the world of sport gracing that occasion. We had Conor McGregor from the Octagon. We also had the man you mentioned just now, Alexander Usyk, Tyson Fury. They were all there, you know, at the Wembley to also watch out for this very. So as it is right now, Anthony Joshua has further pushed his career backward, and no serious fighter will want to pick up a challenge against Anthony Joshua as it is right now. So for me, a big bout expectedly to take place between him and Alexander Usyk after their rematch, after his rematch rather between Tyson Fury is under threat as it is right now, because I don't even see Alexander Usyk or Tyson Fury challenging Anthony Joshua again.
Attempt by Anthony Joshua to be 3 times world heavyweight champion has completely been knocked up there by Dubois. And Daniel Dubois, what chances does he have as well over towards the heavyweight title crown held by Alexander Usyk?
Massive. The range of 1 to 10. His chances for me as it is right now is about 7 to 10. If I must rate him in that scale of ratio, I think he has a very good chance. I haven't seen some of the big names, Alexander Usyk, like I said, Tyson Fury, being down there live to watch this very one. I think for me, he has a very, very big chance as it is right now, as he has launched himself into the global scene. This is what he has been hoping for, according to him, and now is the time. And like I said, I think for me, Daniel Dubois has catapulted himself to prominence to square up against some of the biggest heavyweight, talking about Alexander Usyk or Tyson Fury.
96,000 plus fans were inside the Wembley Stadium to see that match, and both of them homeboys, so to say. The fans, were they really, really excited about what they saw?
Of course they were. You know, just shortly after the game, Daniel Dubois roared. Were you entertained? And you hear the vociferous crowd are there responding as well, saying yes, that they were entertained. You know, building up to that game, you know, the Wembley Stadium is a very familiar ground for Anthony Joshua, where he has won about 1 or 2, you know, bouts are there. So most of the crowd possibly were tilting in favor of Anthony Joshua, but when they saw the table gradually changing in the second and third round of the game, you know, fans, what they be, some of the fair weather fans, they started shifting support to that of Daniel Dubois. So every punches that he lands are there, accompanied with a massive crowd, you know, and cheers are there. So for me, was more like a, you know, division from the crowd, the fans out there. But then at the end of it all, I tell you, it is the winner that always get most of the support out there. Just like they say that failure is an orphan, but when you succeed, you know, you become twins to many people out there.
Well, time for us to take a break, and when we return from the break, we'll go into some more exciting world of sports where the Singapore Grand Prix is come and gone. And then in football, Haaland made history last night when the Arsenal took on Manchester City. Details of this and many more will be yours when we return from the break. Don't forget, Enyimba International is the only Nigerian clubs that are left on the continent after Astar of the other two. When we return from the break, details will be all yours.
The people of Maiduguri need your help. A catastrophic flood has engulfed the city, leaving over 1 million residents stranded and fighting for survival. Entire communities are submerged, with people trapped inside homes and on rooftops cut off from food, clean drinking water and essential supplies. Health experts are warning of a potential outbreak of deadly diseases, and medical facilities are out of commission. The situation is dire. Helicopters, boats and high-riding trucks capable of navigating the treacherous, waterlogged areas are urgently required to reach the countless men, women and children still awaiting rescue. The Nigerian media is issuing a desperate plea to the government, humanitarian organizations, international actors and citizens across the nation. Step in now, before it's too late. For more information on how you can help, contact Professor Usman A. Tar, the Honorable Commissioner for Information and Internal Security, Borno State, on 0809-233-3955. Every second counts.
This is powered by Atlantic Television Network.
Welcome back. It's Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television Network on this edition of the program where we told you how Anthony Joshua has lost out in his bid to winning the third title in the heavyweight boxing category. He lost out to IBF heavyweight champion Daniel Debo at the weekend. And we told you how Nigeria too has gotten our very first medal in fencing, the silver medal, so to say. Meanwhile, for the other aspect of the program this hour, Mike, the Singapore Grand Prix is come and gone, and it is McLaren's Lando Norris who dominated the event. This is not, for me, a big surprise because Max Verstappen seems to be losing his advantage so far.
Yeah, it seems to be losing his advantage. The point has further been cut down to 52 points as it is, with just about 6 races to go. It's about 160 points or 180 points that is still at stake. So for me, I think it's a troubling time and a worrying time for Max Verstappen, despite the fact that at least this very one, this weekend race, he was able to at least do pretty well, better compared to the last outing out in the previous week for him, but then he wasn't able to still hit his peak, as he had 20-second disparity between him and Lando Norris. I think it is a very happy time for McLaren as it is. 20
seconds disparity putting Max Verstappen to the second place position. Oscar Piastri, of course, of McLaren came third. We saw George Russell of Mercedes in the fourth place position, Leclerc of Ferrari in the fifth place position, Lewis Hamilton, Mercedes driver, coming 6th, Carlos Sainz, Ferrari coming 7th, 8th place, Fernando Alonso for Aston Martin. We saw Nico Hülkenberg of Haas in the 9th place position. Then 10th place was Sergio Perez in Red Bull. Of course, no one is being considered for 11th to 20th place
honestly
in Formula 1. Meanwhile, let's go to tennis quickly. And in tennis, Carlos Alcaraz seemed to have bounced back after some disappointing moves in the last Grand Slam, because against Taylor Fritz, he led Team Europe to a 13-11 victory at the Lava Cup competition that took place in Berlin.
Yeah, massive one for Carlos Alcaraz, as he was the man that was able to shoulder the burden, especially when it has to do with the final decider game, because Team World was actually leading before they actually cut the point to 1 point, and they had to go for a decider. So Carlos Alcaraz came up very clutchy to make that one count for Team Euro. They've continued their dominance. This is the 5th time where they are winning it out of 7. Impressive display. Impressive display
there for Carlos Alcaraz and of course Team Europe, and we hope they will continue to delight their fans. We need to see more action there. We know that the Lava Cup competition is one that gets the tennis players very active after the Grand Slam that has been concluded. Now let's go to football quickly, and we are now being told that the Asian city of Bauchi will host the annual general meeting of the Nigerian National League from the 27th to the 29th of September. The annual General League is the second tier league here in Nigeria.
Yeah, it's the second tier right here in
Football
Nigeria.
league.
Yes, football-wise, and they are also hoping to also properly have a nice articulation among club owners out there, because the club owners and officials, they are going to converge there to actually share ideas and cross-pollinate some opinions and see how they can be able to take the national league forward, which for me I think is very, very key.
Management of the National League expected, because 40 teams are participating in the National League, and all 40 will have their representatives at this annual general meeting. Away from the National League, let's look at the Premier League itself. The Nigerian Premier Football League entered into March Day 4, and we saw some interesting fixtures: 4 away wins and 3 draws. Mike, Remo Stars maintained their 100% record in the season. They may have crashed out of the CAF Champions League, but they are beginning to eat well. 2-0 over Kano Pillars at the Muhammad Diko Stadium in Katsina. This was an away fixture for Remo Stars.
Yeah, for Remo Stars right now, under the tutelage of Daniel Ogumodede, I think they are doing pretty well. Don't also forget how they fought gallantly last season in the league to also ensure that they finish, you know, in a very respectable position. They've also continued from where they stopped last season, going away to pick all 3 points. I think for me it's massive. And for this weekend, Nigerian Premier Football League, we actually saw 4 away wins and 3 draws, which for me I think is very, very impressive, because you know how difficult it is for you to go away and pick all 3 points right here. But it seems we are beginning to, you know, improve a lot in terms of the league.
Improvements for the Nigerian League with 4 away wins. We told Remo Stars beating Kano Pillars in one of the away wins. The other was the encounter between Lobby Stars and Rivers United. Rivers United was in Makurdi. They beat Lobby Stars by 1-0. Nasarawa United was in Lafia. They lost as well to the West Side Air Academy Warriors 3-4. Then Niger Tornadoes was the 4th team to win away. They beat Plateau United by 2-1. Harland FC still struggling in the league. They were forced to a goalless draw by Katsina United. It was the same scoreline between Sunshine Stars and Abia Warriors that ended goalless as well. We had another goalless situation between Ikorodu City and Kwara United in the Premier League here in Nigeria. Let's go to the continent, and it is now known that Remo Stars are out of the Continent Champions League. Rangers International, the other Nigerian team at the continent for the CAF Champions League, is out as well. Who could have sent out Rangers International, Mike?
Well, for me, I think for Rangers International against Tue Filante, it was a difficult battle.
Tue Filante is a Burkina Faso side, and
yes,
you will not expect a team from Burkina Faso to eliminate Nigeria in the CAF Champions League competition, especially in the very preliminary rounds.
Yes, it's quite surprising, but I think they actually shot themselves on the foot, talking about Enugu Rangers, failing to win at home convincingly. It was a slim goal victory, yes, which is a very, very difficult one going away. If you were unable to win convincingly at home, how much more are you going away to pick a very valuable? So for me, I think Enugu Rangers, like I said, they actually, you know, orchestrated their own All-Star where they failed to win convincingly at home. If they had won at home 3-0 or even 4 goals, you know, their away result would have counted for nothing. They won 1-0, went away to lose 3-1. So for me, I think that does it. And it leaves Enyimba in a very difficult position, because Enyimba now have to carry the burden of Nigeria. If we must maintain the 4-team coefficient, then Enyimba need to get at least to the semi-final of this very one. If not, 1 team will further be dropped, or even 2 from the CAF organized competition, courtesy of the coefficient of teams.
Talking about Rangers International crashing out of the CAF Champions League. Remo Stars earlier had been defeated by a Moroccan side, but you understand, yes, this is Morocco, but for a Burkina Faso side to eliminate Rangers International from the premier rounds of the CAF Champions League leaves much to be desired about the quality of the Nigerian league. It was almost the same thing for Enyimba International at the Godswill Akpabio Stadium in Rio at the weekend, but they were saved by the luxury of penalties. Ended 3-2 after the encounter in 90 minutes plus added time was goalless. In the first encounter, we saw Enyimba play out a goalless draw against their opponents.
Yeah, and that is what it means for you to go away and at least pick a very vital point. If Enyimba had not, buckled up in a away game to actually came back with a point, that could have also seen them got eliminated. But then that away draw that they got out, they actually helped them a lot. But then they still, for me, not convincing. At your home ground, you failed to win. You struggled as well. So for me, I think it's a very...
What is the quality of the opponent? You want to reiterate that?
I think the quality of their opponent, talking about Esperenca, for me...
This is Angola's football side.
Yes, for me, there is no way you can be able to say that the quality of the Esperenca outweighs that of Enyimba. Enyimba has quality in their ranks. They
quality
also
are 2 times champions in the CAF Champions League, and beyond that, they progress often to the very crucial stages of the continental games here in Africa. So you expect that they should be able to take care of an Angolan football club side?
True, because Esperenca, I think when it has to do with CAF organized competition, they are no force to be reckoned with. Just like you say, Enyimba have been able to dominate the continent of Africa, winning the CAF Champions League twice back-to-back. I think for me, they have more pedigree to compare with the Angolan side. But then, I think football is evolving, and the Angolans as well, they are not also relenting on their own odds. They are also improving, and that is why we are seeing their club side are they giving a Nigerian club side their troubles.
Enyimba International drawn by in the first Premier round games. Now it moved to the second, and they have now qualified for the group stage of the competition. Like Mike did allude, they must get to the quarterfinal stage of the competition for Nigeria to be considered with 4 slots, which we started out at the beginning of this season. Away from Africa now, let's go to Europe quickly, and the Premier League lit up the weekend, and the most exciting fixture that was seen at the weekend was the encounter between Manchester City at the Etihad Stadium against Arsenal Football Club. It ended 2-2 at the end of 90 minutes plus 8 minutes of added time. In fact, 7 minutes of added time, made 8 by center referee Mike. Mike, your colleague, a lot of people say he was the attention, not the players that were on showcase.
Yeah, talking about Anthony Taylor, I think he's very, very controversial, but he was able to at least manage the game, not until he released that red card, which for me was a very silly tackle from Trossard. He was already on yellow. There was no need of trying to also push that player. Even when you had the whistle, he still kicked the ball. Same thing happened to this Arsenal in the Champions League against Barcelona some time ago, when the referee has already sounded the whistle and he also kicked the ball. So for me, I think it was a very, very gallant fight from Arsenal. They had to hold on from the second half. They played with one man down. They absorbed the pressure coming in from the Manchester City angle. And for me, I think David Raya need to be given some flowers for some of the massive save he made yesterday, and that is why he was heartbroken shortly after he conceded that late-minute goal that actually ensured that the games ended in 2-2 draw. But then, in all, I think for Mikel Arteta, he has something going for him with this squad.
Mikel Arteta, no doubt, has something going. They now have a 2-point gap between them and Manchester City that tops the Premier League after fixtures in 5 or 4 games. Meanwhile, we saw some other results of matches that were played last night in the European Championship, in the Premier League. Brighton played a 2-2 draw with Nottingham Forest. We saw Manchester City, like we mentioned to you, play 2-2 draw with Arsenal. Just before I get out of that story, before I could forget, while it was 2-2 at the Etihad Stadium, at the Emirates Stadium, it was 2-2 between the female side of Manchester City and Arsenal.
Yeah, what a setup even before the main male game. You actually watched that wonder goal coming in from
Medeva.
Coming in from Medeva, the Manchester City player, which for me I think is one of the best goals so far this season that we've seen.
Interestingly, she was the former player of Arsenal.
Yeah, so that is how Arsenal get to lose some of their key players, both in the male and in female category.
Chelsea fans were in cloud 9 at the weekend. They went to West Ham and a fellow London side and beat them by 3-0.
Through impressive one for them, considering the fact that it has been a very difficult time for Chelsea going away to West Ham and get all 3 points. But then Nicola Jackson actually made a light work of West Ham.
Aston Villa beat Wolverhampton Wanderers by 3-1. It was the same scoreline between Fulham and Newcastle. Newcastle losing that one. Leicester City played a 1-1 draw with Everton. Liverpool beat Bournemouth by 3-0. It was 1-1 between Ipswich Town and Southampton. Tottenham Hotspur were 3-1 better than Brentford, and Crystal Palace could not score against Manchester United. It ended goalless in that fixture. Let's see what happened in the German Bundesliga, where there was some interesting feature, especially if you are a Nigerian, because Boniface struck a stoppage time winner to give the champions of last season, Bayern Leverkusen, a trailing 4-3 win over Wolfsburg. Victor Boniface, he has not scored yet for Nigeria, but always scoring for his club side.
Yeah, go poacher any day, anytime for the Xavi Alonso side. And for Bayern Leverkusen, they continue, the same thing we saw them last season, striking very late to take all 3 points. Massive one for them.
Very massive for Victor Boniface and Bayern Leverkusen. We hope that it will continue for him out there. Meanwhile, we saw Stuttgart beat Borussia Dortmund by 5-1. Pauline played a goalless draw with RB Leipzig, while it was Union Berlin 2 and FC Hoffenheim 1. Bochum played a 2-2 draw with Holstein FKF, while Werder Bremen lost at home. Bayern Munich beating them by 5 unreplied goals. Victor Kompany and his boys continuing in a winning way.
Very impressive one for Vincent Kompany. I think he's making his own, statement. He's writing his own history out there. Got in the job, nobody gave him chance, But then I think he's proving his worth out there. Even in the Champions League, first team to score 9 goals. I think he's setting a record for him. They seem to be scoring goals for fun.
Meanwhile, we look at what happened in the Spanish La Liga at the weekend. Getafe played a 1-1 draw with Leganés, while it was 3-1 for Atletico Bilbao against Celta Vigo. We saw Atletico Madrid play a 1-1 draw with Real Vallecano. But the biggest result at the weekend in the Spanish La Liga was an encounter between FC Barcelona away against Villarreal. Barcelona scoring 5 goals to 1 scored by Villarreal.
I think he was coming from the anger that they actually lost the midweek Champions League game against Monaco. Hansi Flick's side has been very, very good so far this season, and they kept their 100% record in the La Liga with that impressive display yesterday.
Real Madrid is trying to play the catch-up because they beat Valencia by 2-0. No, Espanyol by 4-1. And this is Real Madrid trying to catch up, like I said.
Yeah, they are playing more like the catch-up game as it is, but then I think the league is still at a very virgin state. Let's hope that maybe as the game continues to come along, they are going to, hit their peak and possibly, get back the first position. The biggest match in the Italian Serie A has to do with the encounter between Inter Milan and the AC Milan at the San Siro. How did it go? A massive one for AC Milan. It's first time in six derby that they are having a beta of Inter Milan. As Pulisic struck very early on the game that put them ahead, but then Inter were able to find the equalizer. As though that wasn't good enough, AC Milan had to find the winning goal in the late minutes of that very one. That thunderbolt header from their defender out there. Very impressive one for AC Milan. Impressive, same as for Fiorentina, because they beat Lazio by 2-1. Monza lost at home. Bologna beating them by 2-1 as well. Roma were 3 goals better than Udinese, and Valencia beat Genoa by 2-0. Juventus and Napoli shared the spoils at the night. Juventus at home, one would think that they would beat Napoli, but Napoli stood firm and ended the encounter on a goalless note, while Cagliari lost at home to Empoli by 2-0. Verona lost as well at home, as Torino beat them by 3-0. In the French Ligue 1, we saw Monaco beat Le Havre by 3-1. Angers played a 1-1 draw with Nantes, while Brest beat Toulouse by 2-0. Auxerre lost because Montpellier beat them by 3-2, while we saw Lille play a 3-3 draw with Strasbourg.
Rennes and Lens played a 1-1 draw, where Paris Saint-Germain could not beat Rennes at home because